Hello and welcome to the preview with Rob Hayes. Rob is still gallivanting around Europe or wherever he is in the world. And so you've got myself, Pete Selby, and we are talking all things Millwall versus Leicester on Saturday on the back of two stunning results. Of course not. It's been very disappointing, hasn't it, for Leicester? With their draw against Portsmouth and their defeat away at Hull. But we are talking about the game coming up against Millwall. But because it's been such a busy period, we haven't really had a chance to reflect. So in the next half an hour, sit back and enjoy, and make sure you do subscribe on our YouTube channel, because we're going to be talking all things Leicester, what's just happened and what's going to happen against Millwall in the next half hour with Joe, with Tom. And if you want to get involved, do comment. You can do through YouTube if you're watching this live. If you're watching through X as well live, then a big hello to you. And if you're listening via Spotify or on Apple, then a big hello to you as well. Remember, you can listen audio version of For Fox 8 podcast, whether it's the preview, whether it's the big show, or whether it's Champions or the FPL show. That's on every channel you can think of, whether it's YouTube, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on X, or on Apple or Spotify. We've been over 12 years on audio only, and now we are live in vision. So do get involved with the show. First of all, Joe, Tom, how are we? Joe, we'll start with you on the back of, let's just mull over what's happened in the last couple of games in the first few minutes before we get stuck into Millwall, etc., who's played for both clubs, what they're doing, what we're going to do on Saturday. How are you feeling right now, Joe? I've got a slight inkling that you might be a little annoyed.
I have slightly calmed down. I was pissed off after Portsmouth. I was pissed off after Hull. I've got a bit of a feeling we're going to all kind of say the same thing tonight, which is our squad sucks and there's no getting away from it. We're all tired of seeing these players, and Marty, he was never going to have long to make, if he's making these wrong decisions, playing these players that we've seen over and over again, let the club down, let the fans down. So yeah, I'm pissed off. It's a good job we didn't do this after Portsmouth. I was particularly annoyed then. Hull just kind of like, I already thought, well, he set up with the second half team. We're going to have a shit first half and a rubbish. We got back into it, but they let us attack. So I don't really think there's a lot to be said for that. So yeah, I could absolutely go into a total rant straight away, but this is the beginning bit. So I'll go easy for now.
Tom, how much of what we just heard from Joe do you agree with, and are you going to add any more?
I can certainly add more. I 100% agree with Joe. The fun sponge has turned into a frustrated sponge, I'm afraid. It's been a very, very frustrating time to be a supporter of Leicester City FC, to be honest. Now, I didn't watch the game against Portsmouth. I've only seen the one against Hull. So for me, I was kind of coming into it blind. But I can very much pick up on the frustrations that I've read online and seen what other people are saying about the football club. I think Marty's starting to put himself under some pressure, if I'm honest. I've still got plenty of time for the manager. I think he's the right choice for now. But I think there's some decisions in terms of squad selection which are proving quite frustrating for a lot of people, and a lot of the same kind of issues. For me, this is a very broad discussion with a lot of different threads that we could pull on that really gets at the nuts and bolts of what the result was all about for me. I think there's attitude issues in the squad. I think some of these players have seen too many relegations, probably been around for too long. The one thing that gives me some optimism moving forward is that Marty, unlike Steve Cooper and Ruud van Nistelrooy, seems to be capable of learning. He might not be learning quite at the pace at which we need, but he's making decisions around the squad where he's dropping, Oliver Skip, and he's bringing in other players to fill in that position that are working. I think what we saw at the end of the last match was potentially a direction that could prove fruitful for us moving towards three at the back, and perhaps getting rid of the so-called striker that is Patson Daka. Now, I don't know what you do, but I think we've seen that there's just nothing there. I mean, it's essentially what you said about Samare, Pete. He's never done it and he never will. So I've tried to be optimistic about Patson Daka because our squad is limited. I don't know what we do. I don't know what Marty does, but we've got to try and shake out a solution for sure.
1 goal in 37, 2 in 49, including club and country in that for Patson Daka. Yeah, it's been terrible. Now, over the last couple of days, I actually yesterday, I mean, I don't know whether it's a bit swollen there. I mean, generally my face is swollen anyway because I've got a big head and I've rather got a bit round here. Do you know what I mean? But it might be swollen because I had a tooth out yesterday and I'm about as toothless as Leicester's attack at the moment. It's ridiculous. I feel akin to Leicester at the moment. It's tragic, and Leicester as well. Oh my God, I was so frustrated watching the game against Hull. Absolutely, I'm not a clue why my friend Martin next door, bless him, he's out there now at the moment. We talk all things Leicester. It's all we talk about. And he says to me, why, when we've got James and Winks alongside each other in midfield, both in their best position, both playing well, would you change that? Why would you bring in Samari of all people to try and disrupt that? I've got no, and I turn around and say, I've no idea. I have no idea. And then he says, well, why would you have Ramsey, who needs minutes in a Leicester shirt, who's proved that he has the ability to score? He scored in his last couple of games, and he needs time to bed into that midfield to make it a triangle. Why wouldn't you? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. And these are all very simple questions from just a fellow Leicester fan. And I sat there going, I said, I'm going to start the show with that. I said, I don't understand what the decision was there. And I completely agree with you, Tom. There's certain players in the side you can just see that they're coasting. And as soon as Leicester go one up, the shoulders go back. Right, that's it. That's fine. We're going to coast. Now, it's not the side of Enzo Maresca. We don't have the likes of Atgun or Iheanacho on or Dennis Pratt or anything like that in the squad. We are a different side at the moment, and we can't afford these so-called first teamers or experienced internationals to be so lackadaisical at the back. And also elsewhere in the team as well. And then, of course, you've got the problem of the forwards, i.e., none, and just the dearth of anything as a number 9. A horrible game against Hull, and then late on, obviously, I at one stage actually, funny enough, when we scored, I actually thought we might even go on and win it. I genuinely did, and I thought if we get another, we'll go on and win this game. But it just shows you that Leicester, we still have that core of a side who can do well in what is a bang average league. It really is, and we've got a very difficult game against Millwall coming up. Let's just talk broadly because we're going to try and keep this as close to half an hour as possible. But Joe, I'm going to say one thing first, and it's all very well reaching for the under 21 button. Like you press the button and it's like, as soon as something goes wrong at a football club or as soon as a few results start to go one way, there's a very easy button to press and it's bring in the youth. I'm not going to fully press that button, but there's the centre forward position is completely, I said the dearth of anyone. I mean, Daka, my alive. When you've got also Carranza, who is struggling badly, and there is no one else because we know that Ayew is not the number 9. You've got Evans scoring goals for fun. Now, we're not going to turn around and say this youngster is going to be the saviour of Leicester City in season 25-26, but a guy who has basically signed a first professional contract in the week, maybe it's a bit of a point towards what maybe is coming up, but surely this guy has got to be involved in the first team squad or at least on the bench. Maybe even as a bit of a look towards Daka and Carranza and everyone and say, look what we've got in behind. This is a natural finisher. This is a guy who's young. He will take your place if you're not careful. Now, I know the final ball was very poor against Hull, but there needs to be some kind of rocket from somewhere. And I just think that might be the thing. Personally, I'd play him. I'd have him on the bench and bring him on with Monger at some stage.
Yeah, you said you're not quite pressing the under 21s button.
It's hard.
There's a button. Well, there's 2 buttons, and one of them is put them all on the bench, ready to go. You got Jake Evans scoring for fun once again, and Marty said a couple of weeks ago, if not a month ago, he says, "Oh yeah, the reason why he's not in the squad is because we want to see him do it for the under 21s." Well, he's doing it for the under 21s. We have got no option in in the number 9 position at all. Get him on the bench and bring him. He should be brought on as soon as you've got him on the bench. Same with Silko Thomas, Ben Nelson. I very much, I know exactly what you mean, because it is very easy to go, let's get the young blood in there. You know, we have seen auditions, Jeremy Monga, for all his tricks, and you know he's going to be a great player. His goal and assists haven't been particularly great, but neither has anyone really, apart from, you know, we've got Yannick Vestergaard as one of our top scorers. It's a real problem and it needs to be fixed. And if we can't sign anyone, you've got to bring the young guy in. The left back, right back position is still a bit dodgy. I'm thinking about Nelson as well, Aluko. All of these guys need to be filling the bench, because we have got the rest of the guys we're so sick of seeing. We know they're not going to do it. The reason Leicester are a championship team, yeah, we're hearing, you know, we need to be back where we should be. We've heard this for the last, since the beginning of the season, but it's just not true. We're a championship team. We have been for the last couple of seasons. We do not have the players that we should have. And the reason is your Vestergaards, your Fass, just a load of, I also hear, you know, people say Harry Winks, he's a Premier League player. I mean, for what side? A bottom, you know, the bottom 3 basically. We've got a whole squad full of championship players, and it's no surprise, really, that we're at this point where you've got to freshen it up. It's just got ridiculous. We've been seeing it for ages. And if he's not careful, Marty's just going to go straight down the Ruud van Nistelrooy route, which is, I'm going to pick these same players again and again. We've seen them. And yet we all know that they are crap. They've got us relegated twice. They don't put in the effort. But apparently we're going to play them every week. And nothing's going to change, you know. Polishing a turd at the moment, and we need some serious strike force. To be honest, I don't know the injury status of Mavididi, but if it's not Jake Evans, obviously you're not just going to chuck him in to start. I'd play Mavididi up front. I really would, because at least he knows where the back of the net is. More than Patson Daka, Carranzo, you know, how many games are you going to play? Play him until he scores. And Jordan Ayew, you know, last time I was up at the King Power, it was v Cov. I saw him run around the box so much. He's allergic to anywhere really, you know, close to the net. Yeah, you've got to do something different, Marty. Do not do the same thing over and over again, because, and for what, you know, the worst thing is I'm going to hear people on podcasts. I listen to all the podcasts. I'm a big fan of all the Leicester content. I'm going to start hearing people saying, what's the definition of insanity? Which is the worst cliche, I think, going at the moment. So you do it over and over again. And we're just going to start, that's going to start rolling out again. And of course, we all know as well that we just didn't, we're all willing to give him a chance, but none of us have got a lot of patience, because we've just seen it all before, and we've just seen it all for the last 2-3 years. So yeah, I mean, I'm going all over the place, but you can tell, I'm sure I've got similar feelings to a lot of Leicester fans, which is we watched a load of draws and a load of the same crap players turn out for us that we know are only going to put in a little bit of effort. And we seem to be now a team that specializes in just about getting to the ball, to that sort of halfway line area, the third of the pitch, where we can pass it around in a horseshoe shape in front of the opposition. Oh, look at us, aren't we great? And that's all we do. And Hull showed us the other day how you actually go through the lines, how you put in a nice cross, and how you score good goals. They were better than us every aspect, really. And the only reason we looked like we could have equaled it up was because they let us attack. So yeah, I'm pissed off.
It's interesting when you mentioned Hull. I'll just come on to you, Tom, just to finish kind of the first part, which is to get off our chest, because we've not had a big show this week. We'll have that next week, so don't be worried about it. Also, by the way, we'll have a special we're going to have a special show about the sponsor. James has been doing his homework and he's written loads of columns about it before. We're going to have a sponsor special. Who are BC Game? What's the controversy surrounding that? We're going to basically list all the facts. It's going to be very educational for me, but also we're going to put our point of view across as well. So stand by for the For Fox's Sake special. It's going to be a big show special with James talking all things the sponsor. But we're also going to have a big show next week where we're going to basically go reviewing what happens on Saturday. But just the last word on what you would do in terms of youth players, because that was the initial question before Joe went not just around the houses but around the villages and the county, in fact. What I completely agree with Joe regarding the bench. Get these players on the bench, because at the moment Monga is certainly a player you bring on. But if you can bring on Monga, why not bring on, if you're going to bring on Monga, bring on Evans at the same time? Two players who have played together. Why not bring on three young players? And you could do this with 20 minutes to go, and then you could do it with half an hour to go. And you gradually say to these first team players, if they're not performing, guess who's coming on? And then all of a sudden, then you can blood them into actually starting games, if, left back, etc. Or maybe Evans. So I completely agree. You can fill that bench with these players. Tom, before we talk anything to do with Millwall, your final thoughts on what's happened recently and what you would change.
The youth question isn't even really a question for me. I think our squad has been exposed to be so threadbare in defence. We might have a starting 11 that perhaps can, scrape together a level of creativity to be creating some kind of opportunity that inevitably Patson Daka won't finish. But as soon as we need to start rotating players, so take your Ramses, for instance, which I think it was said in the BBC Radio Leicester podcast after the game that he was carrying a knock, I believe, or some kind of injury that meant that he couldn't be at least started. But that just goes to show how much we don't have. I think the academy is the fulcrum of our future, and it needs to be the focus. And we need to be blooding these players. We can't be in one mind talking about how this is a rebuild and simultaneously not play the players that we're supposed to be building our future around. We need to be incorporating them into the squad. And it's not like as if they don't have experience already to be able to play at this level. Ben Nelson's proven at this level that he can play. Louis Page has just got his under 18s cap for England. Aluko, Evans as well, Silko Thomas. These are players that can do a job at this level and should be getting time on the bench and then being incorporated slowly. The one little positive thing I'll mention just to wrap up what I had to say, Pete, was, I don't know if you saw, but at the start of the second half, the officials found that there was a hole in the net, which they had to try and patch before the game could begin. And I had to think, the joke's on them. We were never going to find that hole to begin with. It was never going to happen. Our team, it is lightweight at the minute. It needs reinforcements in January. And if we can't get it, we need to look at the academy.
Absolutely. And just a final word. You mentioned about breaking the lines, Joe, and when you've got, if you think of England and you think of England, everyone, no, but no, it's when you've got Harry Kane up front, who will then slightly drop deep, so you need runners from the wings. And you looked at previous sides when you've had, say, Saka down one side, you've had Sterling, say, in the past going, and now you've got, say, Gordon on that side, etc. And they need to run on behind to get to the byline, pull the ball back, etc. You need people to run essentially down the side of the penalty area. If you've got a forward who kind of hangs back. The problem when we have someone like Jordan Ayew playing up front for Leicester is that those wingers, they're given the ball really early, which we were all using at the start of the season. And it's brought goals from Fatoy because he gets the ball early and then he can drift inside across the penalty area, bang, left foot, top corner, job done. But very rarely do they actually go and try and beat them on the outside. Apart from Monga, obviously, others will try it, and Fatoy will on occasion get down the byline. And of course, he's very good at that. But saying all that, when the ball then comes across, there's no one in the middle. When for England, of course, Harry Kane's so good, he can get back into the centre even when dropping deep. But someone like Jordan Ayew, and I know it's not his style, but I'm still frustrated by him because surely at his age, he understands football. He can, look, stand up front, mate. You don't have to drop deep. We've got a number 10 behind you. Don't worry. You can just be on the last man, be that guy in the penalty area. Don't move from that penalty area. Look at Jamie Vardy. When Brendan Rodgers said, look, don't go down the side. You need to stay in the midfield third, in the centre third. I don't want you running out wide anymore. You've got to stay. He changed his game. He evolved. The one thing with Jordan Ayew, he's not evolving as a centre forward that we need. Yeah, it is frustrating. Dorco, he's been in contact with the comments. He says more players like Hamza and Luke Thomas playing from our area. The mercenaries has let us down. And he's angry about the anti-Luke Thomas rhetoric recently. I personally, I think it's easy. It's an easy target, Thomas. I don't think he had a good game at all against Holland. I think he's been poor for the last few games. Let's put it right. I think he started the season quite well, but I think he has been really, really poor recently. So, and unfortunately, on the back of signing a 4-year contract, that's what you're going to get. You sign a 4-year contract, and all of a sudden you're playing poorly. It's not a good look. Let's talk Millwall. Had 20 minutes preview Leicester versus Millwall, and we've not mentioned Millwall. Rob is going to be going absolutely bonkers. What have I done? I've ruined his show, but never mind. He will be back. Right. Played for both clubs. Any names, Joe?
No, I wish I'd had this question last week because I could have gone with David Nugent. I was crying out with that one for Portsmouth. No, Millwall. God.
I'll
ask great Tom question.
Man, I knew this was coming. I prepared this time round. Keith Weller.
Yeah, Keith Weller. Yeah, Keith Weller. My first one was Ben Thatcher. And then you got Steve Claridge. Keith Weller, and what else I wrote down? I had to write down their manager as well. Alex Neil in charge. Millwall third, flying. Won the other day. Won their last 2-3, in fact. So they're in third place in the championship, going well. I can tell my Millwall story. So anyway, Millwall away, FA Cup, Ranieri under pressure. At the end of the game, there's a riot. There's basically all the Millwall fans on the pitch, there's seats being thrown away, and also I'm upstairs. I'm in the top tier of the away end. Terrible game. Ben Chilwell don't want to take a throw in and all that. It was horrific. And in my opinion, Ranieri should have gone then. That should have been it. But of course, he hung on for a few more games for the Sevilla game away. And then it obviously, the decision was made, but he should have gone then. But anyway, terrible result. But I went down with my mate Lalo. Bless him, he's not around anymore. But we got outside. He couldn't walk very far at the time, and so we're going to Millwall. We're going to the New Den, and it's an FA Cup game. We're champions. It's the FA Cup 5th round or whatever it was, big game. So we walk out the tube station. It's about a mile and a half away from the ground. So I'm not wearing any colours. He's kind of got a Leicester shirt on underneath, but he can't walk very far. So he goes, "Don't worry. I'll get an Uber. You know Uber?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do know Uber. I'll get an Uber. Watch this." So he gets his phone out. It's on its way. We'll be there. Anyway, he looks around. He goes like, "We've got to keep ourselves down. Keep a bloody coats up and everything. Don't show your colours. Don't do anything that will make yourself stand out." And I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm not worried about you doing this. Like, I'm fine. So don't worry." Anyway, it's coming around the corner. Here we go. And the car comes round, and he'd pressed the wrong button, and he'd ordered a limo. So we arrived outside of the Den in this limo. Like, it pulled up outside the Den. You can imagine all these meatheads from Millwall. This limo appears outside the main entrance. "Is it here, lads?" "Yeah, just stop here. Like, we're about 100 yards from the ground." "No, I'll pull outside the ground for you." Pulled up outside the ground. He steps out with his sunglasses on, like this with his, and I'm like walking out, like keeping my head down. You're honest to it would. Oh dear. Anyway, like we got in the ground, and of course it was terrible. But yeah, we'll get a limo to Millwall. how do you want that? Oh, Jesus.
And did you get out, Pete? Did you get out going, "You want some? Come on"?
It was terrible. Well, I did. When we were walking out, you then got that road down to the station behind you. And it was lined with police, and there's this riot going on inside. And I said to one of the coppers when we stopped on the path, I said, "You realise there's a riot going on in the ground?" They're like, "Shut up and keep moving." And I'm like, "There's 3 policemen on the pitch out of like thousands of people." I says, like, you want to go and help your mates, but like anyway, whatever. Millwall, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a hostile atmosphere, but is it a winnable game, Joe? After all what we've said, I still think we can go there. They play, they're not exactly the big long ball merchants of old, but they're still a fairly direct side under Alex Neil. And obviously they're going to be, I mean, if you've won the last 3, you're going to have your tails up, and they're going to be looking at this game, and it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be full, because I don't think it ever is, but it's going to be a really good atmosphere. If you're a Millwall fan, you're looking forward to this.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that it's very rarely full, actually, so I'm not quite sure whether the atmosphere is exactly how it used to be in the older days, but it's still going to be a lively game, and they haven't drifted too far away from what they're sort of famous for. So they'll definitely be looking at this like they can win this game. That said, you do feel like one thing, Marty has made his subs at 60. He's made his subs at halftime. You know, he has changed things. His team selection is debatable sometimes, but that said, Ramsey's had a few more minutes in the tank. He's looked really good. 2 brilliant goals recently. There's no denying that. James looking really good. Hopefully, you know, he's in a bit of rhythm now. We've got the tools, we've got the players, and if I were, this is a question, a sort of thing we said for quite a few years. You feel like, come on, boys, you've definitely got to turn up for this one. So weirdly, after being quite annoyed, I do think we will make a game of it. We have to. Otherwise, it's just going to go. You know, the fans are just going to start getting pissed off and get frustrated even more so than they already are very quickly. So I do think we can do it. But yeah, let's make some changes. Let's make that bench full of the youngsters, or at least looking like there's a few people that can change things if things aren't going our way. Because if you're bringing on Samari and Daka and Bayu and you're starting with Fass and everything like that, you just sort of think, yeah, it's same shit, different day, really.
Tom, with regards to what you would do for Millwall away, would you do the same? Would you put a load of youngsters on the bench? And it's not even a load of youngsters. We're talking about a very, very good youth setup here at Leicester, and these players could well be, towards the end of the season, who knows, and fingers crossed, regular first-team players we will see, or at least really, really involved with the first-team squad. But also, we need to really combat what's going on at the football club. Up until the Hull game, we had a very good first half against Portsmouth, very good first half against Wrexham. But then the second half completely collapsed. It was kind of the opposite way around against Hull. We didn't turn up for the first 10 minutes at all, and were caught completely cold. How would you go about changing things? Would it just be personnel? And I know from our position as fans, we can't really go into the change room and kick them all up with the arse. But how would you go about changing things? Are you looking towards a back 3 with maybe Nelson coming in?
Yeah, I think it's the way forward. To me, I think we've been trying to force a system and a style of play, which perhaps we either don't have the quality to play or the personnel in the right positions to play it. It feels forced to me. Last time I was on the preview with Rob, we were talking about potentially a system change, and I think it's kind of evident from the back end of the last game that even if it's going to be a bit scrappier and a bit more 50-50, I think we need to go down that road and at least try it out, because we've got centre-backs, especially once the big Harry Suter comes back and he'll come back to start the line for Leicester City and prove to everyone how good he is. We've got Nelson, we've got Vestergaard, Okoli, Fass. We've got options there. We've got wingers. We know we've got options there. Mabadidi might not be in form at the minute, but he could turn up on a day, at least, more so than Daka ever will. And we're starting to get a midfield. We've got James, we've got Winks, we've got Aaron Ramsey. If you were to throw maybe a holding midfielder in the mix, or somebody a bit more creative like a Ricardo Pereira, all of a sudden you might start to find a bit of a team that could actually improve our position, let's say. You have some options definitely in terms of the academy, which could supplement that. And I think we're looking into a better position. So for me, I'd start this game the way we ended the last one. I'd like to see a back 3. I'd like to see Fass, Vestergaard, Okoli. I think Okoli might not have the passing ability that his teammates might have, but he's got the passion. And I think what we're really struggling and seeing is that the reason in my head we're playing one half good, one half poorly is because there are some players in our team which are playing for themselves and not necessarily making the right decisions for their teammates. I think Jordan Ayew is one of those, to be honest. I know that out of all the strikers we've got, he's technically the most proficient and is probably the most likely to score a goal. But I just look at his decision making in the final third, and I think to myself, mate, just cross or pass. What are you going trying to score a worldie for when we all know like the opportunity's there to actually just get a tap in through somebody else? So what I want to see is players like Caleb Okoli that are going to fist pump when they put in the tackles and the blocks. And I want to see other players that are actually here for the right reasons and starting. And those reasons will be naturally players from the academy. So I'm looking and hoping for a system change. I know Dorco is a big fan of Luke Thomas. Mate, he's got a heat-seeking missile in the back of his head from me. I don't rate him at all. And I think part of the issue there, and we spoke about previously, some of these players just have had their confidence shattered. I think Luke Thomas has been relegated 3 times. I could be wrong in that. I think Sheffield and then twice with us, right? So I think whether it's a refresh, a change of personnel, whatever it is, we need to bring about a bit of a change. And for me, that's going to a back 3.
I'm a kid. I'm a 90s Leicester fan, aren't I? Do you know what I mean? And so I'm all over 3 at the back and 5 in midfield and 2. I really am, you know. It's almost my default. If you were to say pick a side, I go 3-5-2. If you say name a Leicester City side, everyone would name the league winning side. I start with Jerry Taggart, Matt Elliott at the back, and then put Savage in midfield alongside Izzet and Lennon. So I look at the side, and I completely get where you're coming from with the Okoli. I really do. You want someone who is, even though he is clumsy, and you would like to see Nelson put in the side, especially on the left side of the back 3. You know, I can see why you would go with Okoli. Maybe even against Millwall as well, it could be an option. I like the option of 3 at the back. It needs to be managed correctly. You look at Manchester United, you look at Crystal Palace. There's the 2. I know it's not necessarily 3-5-2, but again, 3 at the back still. I look at it, and can Leicester play 3-5-2? Do they have the players to play it? They do, and they do. And there's one reason why I would play this, and this might sound bonkers, but you can't score Patson Daka. We know that. The last time you scored was December last year. You scored 2 in 49, 1 in 37. Carranza has looked quite bad. Let's be honest with ourselves. Quite bad. We all hoped, but he's looked quite bad. I'm not going to say anything worse than that, but quite bad. So what is the option? The option is possibly to play them both at the same time. One's quick, one can maybe run off him, one can maybe find space. That we said at the beginning of the season that Carranza looks like he has a skill set in that. So maybe Daka can cause chaos by running, off the field even, and taking the attention of the defenders by going, what the hell is he doing? But anyway, it might find a bit of space for Carranza. If you look further back in the 3-5-2, it does fit. 3 at the back, 5 in midfield. You would have Winks, you would have James, and then you could have Ramsey as well. That works. That really does work. If you think about, again, that midfield 3 for Leicester in the 90s. Wingers, again, you don't quite have the defensive cover, but you would still have Fatah on one side, and then on the other side, if you want to play Mavididi, or we shall see. But it's a little bit awkward with someone like Monga as a wing back. You want him pushing further forward, etc., etc. So there would have to be worked on. But with the forward line, if one can't score, why not play both of them at the same time? I think a lot of people would say, well, why can't you play Ayew and then have, say, a Daka? That would naturally kind of work. It wouldn't, because they won't score, but still, you know what I mean, in terms of their skill sets. But I would think maybe just play both of them at the same time up front. Anyway, we shall see. So you're going for a 3-5-2. I've kind of half taught myself into a 3-5-2 just out of pure morbid interest, really. I want a prediction from you, Joe. Now, the last time we did predictions on the preview, Rob does it very sensibly, but we, last time out, we wanted like a weird thing that would happen. And we had all sorts of weird and wonderful suggestions. What did we have? We had a baby in the stands, like Everton. Do you remember when they turned up with a baby? And I told a story about Jim, who I saw, Jim Donnelly, on the escalator at Next at Foss Park. I was going down, he was coming up, and he was like, all right, Pete. I was like, all right, Jim. And then got to the bottom of the step. We didn't turn around and go and say, look, because we were going. and he looked like he was in a bit of a rush as well. And then I got about 100 yards away from next and went, I forgot about mentioning Jim on the podcast. Anyway, so I saw him at Next in Foss Park. So we've had a baby. I said it was going to be a fox crossing Filbert Way, and the camera focuses on that during like an injury interval. I want to know one thing that happens during the game and your score prediction, and also maybe any goal scorers, which I know is silly to say, Joe.
Well, I want to go for it. I never predict a Leicester loss. I'm not quite sure I can go for the win. I'm going to go for a 2-2. A lovely Desmond. I'll go for the classic prediction of the Millwall fans fighting each other. That's, you love to see it. It's one of those things. It's like it's a tradition in football, isn't it? So yeah, a little scrap between the Millwall fans. We'll have some of that, throwing pies at each other or something.
I think that's just an odds-on shout, really, isn't it? Tom, what's going to be the score, and what's going to happen? What one thing's going to happen?
I'm in two minds about this, Pete. I very much agree with Joe. I just don't see a win. I don't even know if I see a draw. I want to be more optimistic than that, but I just had it beaten out of me with that game at Hull, and I went into it predicting a 4-1. So, mate, I'm gonna just go quiet on that answer. I'm hoping for an Okoli appearance. I'll keep it simple. I just think throwing the pies is a good shout, but it's pretty expensive for a pie at a football game, isn't it? So they're not going to be throwing and wasting pies. Maybe. I hope so.
Well, there we go. For me, I'm always going to be positive, and I've just still got that inkling that overall we were terrible in that first half against Hull, absolutely dreadful, and the attitude which Tom has spoken about a lot, completely agree with, really, really poor, and I just hope that Leicester can get a foothold early in the game. I fear it could be 2-0 after 15 minutes. I fear that Millwall are going to come flying out in a great atmosphere, and if they catch us early, it could be 2 or 3-0, very early stages, and then we're staring down the barrel. But I've just got an inkling that Leicester might be able to hold things tight for half an hour or something, playing through at the back, playing maybe a Coley as well, under the aerial bombardment, and then catching them on the break. Now, we've predicted a baby in the stands. We've predicted a fox, and I'm going to predict the lesser spotted Patson Daka goal on a counter-attack. Now, the ball goes in the back of the net. We've seen the ball go in the back of the net off someone's shin, off someone's knee, off someone's arse, someone's hand. I'm not saying how Patson Daka is going to score, but I'm going to say that Patson Daka is going to score for Leicester away at Millwall on Saturday. By hook or by crook, from his arse or from a 30-yard stunner, he's going to score a goal. Whether he meant to or not, and we know the answer to that, everyone, don't we? Patson Daka will score. Now, will it be a winning goal? Maybe. Will it be a goal that rescues a point? More than likely. Or will it be a consolation? Probably an odds-on favourite. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Patson Daka to score, and then Leicester to capitulate late on and concede a goal. 1-1, and maybe someone turns up in a limo as well. If that happens, then I will be here next week doing a handstand, celebrating, and we won't do any more predictions because I've got them all right. Last word, Joe.
Yeah, let's actually see some spirit and some fight. It's a perfect game for it. It's time for them to prove us wrong. They've had plenty of chances. I mean, a Patson Daka goal is absolutely, as someone in the betting industry, Pete, I think you should know better. But yeah, come on. We're always hopeful. It's why we love the game. So, come sort of Saturday afternoon, I'll be absolutely expecting us to win. So let's have it.
Bet with your head, not with your heart. That's what I always say. But bet passionately. Now, when it comes to the sponsor episode next week, By the way, we will have, obviously, James, with his journalistic background, done a lot of research on this. And I think we all know his angle when it comes to BC Game and obviously gambling on the front page, on the front shirt of a shirt. I've worked in the betting industry all my life. Now, I'm not going to be defending the betting industry, but we will have two different sides to the argument. So it's going to be an entertaining podcast, and there's lots of other arguments surrounding that. So make sure you join us next week for that BC Game special, the Leicester City sponsor, the special. What's happened? What are the details? What are the facts? What are just the straight out facts of why they're banned in the UK, why you can't bet with them, what's the story there, and what's the story with their history in Leicester, and why a lot of people aren't happy. So there's going to be a lot of information put out, and then we'll put out our own opinions as well. So that's next week. Tom, your final thoughts. I know, obviously, I've gone completely mad. How mad do you think I've gone?
Do you know what the highlight for me was just watching Joe's face as you predicted Patson Daka to score. It just looked like it was absolutely gobsmacked.
Well, that's the cider. There's too much sugar in the apples this year. So Joe, like, everything's gone. It's 5.5 cider is now 8.6. Joe's hammered.
I thought I was having technical difficulties for a second.
Oh, mate. Do you remember the TIFO when Craig Shakespeare took over and it was the Let's Slip the Dogs of War?
I was there.
I'm saying to Marty, let the Academy Dogs of War slip. Let them go. Get them out there on the pitch. Up the Foxes.
I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. The final word, of course, goes to our lovely viewers because it's your show. Basically, it's your show. If you do want to get on the show, if you want to be with us, come join us. Sit next to us in that meme from The Simpsons. Get in contact for fox8podcast@gmail.com. Email us. Come and listen and talk. Be on the show. Be on this show. Be on any show. Be on the big show. Be on the champion show. Be on the FPL show. If you do play FPL, please give me some advice. But the last word goes to Chester Leicester. Thomas is awful. Why was he given a new contract? Give Fate and Avas and Vestergaard new contracts at this point. A tongue-in-cheek there, Chester. Also, we've got James Wade with Pigs Might Fly. I think that's from my Daka. Daka and Samari should never start for the Foxes again, said Oddfish. That's Fox in the box. Yeah, I can kind of agree with you there. And Dorco says, I hope you're right, Pete. Good lad. Good lad. Also, with my prediction about Daka, not just anything in life. But that's it for the show. Many thanks to Joe. Many thanks to Tom. Many thanks for everyone watching or listening live. Many thanks for those who are watching back or listening. Hopefully, we see that Joe celebration, not from Joe, but from Patson Daka. I'm going to go for a lie down and dream of a Daka goal off his arse.